It wouldn't be Call of Duty Zombies if there weren't shady research groups performing experiments on foreign elements from other dimensions, and the Dark Ether story is no exception to this rule. In this video, I'll be giving a history over the two organizations run by the director, aka Edward Richtofen. I will also be explaining the two groups' inventions. Anywho, without further ado. The organization known as Requiem was founded by director Richtofen, who has a detailed background with the US Air Force as the Blue Baron and with the CIA's Office of Extra-Regular Activities. The organization's creation was in response to combat all threats emerging from this other dimension known as the Dark Ether, which was reopened by Russia's Omega Group when they were investigating the long-abandoned Project Endstation facility in Morasko, Poland. This investigation led to worldwide outbreaks in isolated areas, resulting in immediate strike teams to become deployed into the area and contain the outbreak, preventing any spread of the unknown virus or information to the public. These small outbreaks contained a mysterious ether orb, which moved around the outbreak vicinity, keeping those inside of its perimeter safe from any hazardous radiation. It does not keep you safe from the hostile creatures that crossed over into our dimension, though. The recruiting for Requiem was done quickly, due to the rapidly growing spread of the outbreak zones. Needing to keep global panic at a minimum, as well as understanding what exactly the Soviet Union is planning with this other dimension, Richtofen would announce who will be running the 4 divisions within Requiem, being Gregory Weaver, a CIA agent who played a large role in destroying Russia's Numbers program and Nova 6 production before getting in the CIA's line of fire during Operation Caritas, which Richtofen had parted him from. Within Requiem, he will be running the Field Ops division, ensuring strike teams perform their objectives correctly and providing direct orders to them in the field. Dr. Elizabeth Gray, a brilliant scientist from the United Kingdom, who was called in to be in charge of Requiem's Unnatural Sciences division. Her objectives will be to understand the inner workings of the creatures that have crossed over from the Dark Ether and the effects this dimension has on our genetic structure. Major Mackenzie Carver, a soldier who fought in both the Korean and Vietnam Wars respectively. He's given himself a solid reputation, and he personally requested to be in charge of Requiem's Containment and Security Division. His role was to provide combat strategies and swift responses to outbreak zones, and come up with creative new weapons to use against these interdimensional threats. And finally, Dr. Oscar Strauss, who was previously employed in Project Endstation during World War II, before being transferred into Dr. Friedrich Steiner's leadership, assisting in the production of Nova 6. Since the war's end and through Operation Paperclip, Strauss now works for the US government, assisting Requiem in understanding the elements of the Dark Ether, leading its Energy Research Division. With these 4 now in charge of their respective divisions, Requiem would begin recruiting for their strike teams. With added assistance from NATO, the recruiting process included several personnel from Spec Ops teams, these of course being the operators we play as. There is no canon crew in Black Ops Cold War, but this is their explanation for it. The outbreaks were only getting worse, and the strike teams were in need of some additional firepower, leading to Carver designing the Weaponized Ethereum Neutralizer Devices, or WAND for short, which was then made by Dr. Strauss. These specialized handgun weapons would unleash a variety of benefits to the operator that used it, whether it was a ring of fire that enhanced their weapon's damage, an energy mine that releases shockwaves in its vicinity, a green beam of light that heals the wounds of its user and their allies, amongst other abilities. The wand would prove to be extremely beneficial to the operator's attempts at survival in their missions, whether it was the smaller scale outbreaks or their prime objectives. Beyond the wand, Strauss also created the Essence Explosive. When operators eliminate their undead targets, they collect their etheric essence, which they can use to purchase weapons, perks, and other things. With Strauss's invention, they can transform that essence into an explosive that removes debris that is blocking their path. With these 2 inventions and most of Requiem's staff in place, they deployed a strike team at the Project Endstation facility in Morasko. The mission was simple: uncover what Omega's intentions are with the Dark Ether and shut down the cyclotron within the bunker.
If it were only that simple.
Acquiring the Die Machine, a wonder weapon of Project Endstation's own making, the strike team is able to unlock Der Wechsler, another machine capable of restoring minor brain functionality to the undead. The strike team uses this on a transformed Omega soldier named Orlov, who has become a Megaton. With Orlov's help, the strike team is able to destroy the particle accelerator and escape. With the base destroyed and intel acquired, Requiem now has a better understanding of Omega's intentions, what lies beyond the Dark Ether, and what is capable with Ethereum. Requiem strike teams would proceed to perform operations across the globe, in both minor and major outbreak zones, including a rescue operation in Vietnam to save Agent Maxis, the destruction of Omega Group's inversion warheads in the Ural Mountains, an attempted escort of 8 Omega scientists who wished to defect before the Requiem strike team was captured by Omega, and the defeat of Alexandra Valentina in Berlin. Unfortunately for Requiem, despite having the better scientists and soldiers, they were consistently behind in the arms race against Omega Group, who was finding new ways to harvest Ethereum crystals in large quantities, develop new weaponry, forms of transportation, and literal breakthroughs into the Dark Ether. In their attempt to catch up, Requiem began Operation Threshold. This operation consisted of strike teams being deployed into the Ural Mountain outbreak zones, the largest outbreak zones thus far. Not only was there a rich amount of Ethereum in these outbreak zones, but it allowed for Requiem to perform new kinds of field ops to obtain valuable data and materials. For this operation, many things were invented, so here's a rundown of them. The CIA SAT-9 Dimensional Disruptor is a design of Carver's. Its purpose is to locate designated high-value targets, or HVTs, from the Dark Ether and pull them into our reality, allowing for strike teams to wipe out higher-ranking members of this undead army. Carver had a strong belief that the undead crossing over were following orders of some unknown larger threat. And I guess he was right in that. During strike team deployments, they may come across a large Ethereum crystal that is producing dangerous volumes of etheric energy, corrupting and tainting the area and expanding the phase, which is the purple wall you see around the outbreak maps. Placing one of Strauss's essence explosives onto the crystal, the Forsaken warps the team into the Dark Ether. The strike team then has to survive until the explosive goes off, which manages to pull them back into our reality safely, ultimately destroying the crystal and cleansing the area, if only by a smidge. The Dark Ether Specimen Analyzer, or DASA station, was made for Dr. Gray. The machine would have a zombie's head placed inside, broadcasting the specimen's DNA back to Requiem HQ so they can further understand these creatures. Unfortunately for any strike team that placed its head in the container, the head would scream, alerting other undead in the area. If the strike team succeeded in fending off the incoming threat, then Gray would receive full data of the specimen. Another invention of Dr. Gray's was the RCV-M7 Dark Ether Recon Rover, a simple vehicle that would keep a monkey stored in the cage on the back of the vehicle. The rover proceeds to drive through the outbreak zone, locating a dimensional rift in the area that it can enter. Sometimes this rift will reject the rover and launch it elsewhere, transforming the monkey into something else. According to Requiem research, the monkey is still very much present, despite its transformation. If the rift accepts the rover, however, then Gray is able to study the effects Ethereum has on living tissue. This process is rather upsetting for her though, and she only makes it harder on herself by naming all of the monkeys. Over with Dr. Strauss, he creates the MGM-134Z extraction rocket. Despite wishing he could work on anything else other than rockets, this is a very much needed tool. With this, strike teams can load Ethereum canisters into the rockets and have them transported back to Requiem HQ for further study. The SMS-171R Essence Conversion Module is Strauss's attempt to understand how the Essence works. As Essence provides more than just ways to buy things, it becomes things, such as power-ups or tools for the strike teams to use. He wishes to understand this transformation of energy and how to control it. With the Essence Conversion Module, strike teams will feed the machines the essence of their enemies until it has acquired enough energy to transform into something. By 1985, the outbreak zones had begun to expand their reach and increase in radiation, causing a rare kind of primordial Ethereum to emerge from the Dark Ether vortexes, which will never get mentioned again, by the way. Needing to research this rare form of energy, Strauss has the strike teams absorb it into Ethereum canisters and once again transport them back to HQ before they lose their energy. During these operations, the Forsaken would show increased aggression. With all of these ongoing operations in the area, Requiem was bound to catch up at some point, and it seems they didn't just catch up, they surpassed their enemy, creating their very own wonder weapon from the minds of Carver and Strauss, the powerful and deadly conversion-ready binary repeater standard. or the Cerberus, a handgun accompanied by a rotating orb that fires in unison with the weapon. The Cerberus also features 3 variants, though they're not as strong. These variants include a grenade launcher, a shotgun, and a laser beam. Behind the back of its creators, director Richtofen modified the weapon to include a synthetic voice replicator using archived audio of Dr. Strauss, Carver, and Dr. Gray.
I am the CRBRS, or Cerberus. I will be your fire alarm for today. How may I be of service?
This was presumably a test and prototype of what Sam's voice would be based on. It may have also been included to provide a strange sense of comfort to the captured strike team in Berlin, which is where the Cerberus was deployed. As for the lack of Weaver, I honest to God think it's because Richtofen is his biggest hater. Anyway, alongside the Cerberus was the creation of everybody's favorite robotic ally. Actually, I'll let him introduce himself.
Sorry. Hello, I am Klaus. I am here to help you. It is in my programming. Not that I know who actually programmed it. Was it Langley? Do you know what a Langley is? I am not sure. But I do not think it is anything bad. Trust me, I am here to help.
Klaus was deployed into Berlin sometime before the strike team's arrival. His goal was to prevent the Forsaken's release, but the CIA operators on site weren't sure what Klaus exactly was. They had intercepted encrypted files about the Office of Requiem and a mysterious Project Janus, but they were unsure of what either of these organizations were, and they tried to request information on what to do about Klaus, but they were given no reply. Thinking it was perhaps just some strange, elaborate joke, the CIA agents drew a crude mustache on Klaus's face. When the next day began, only 2 agents remained. Watching footage taken from the CCTV cameras, they find that Klaus had awoken and strangled one of the agents to death, leading to the remaining 2 to unplug Klaus, hoping that would do the trick. Spoiler! It did not. The 2 agents were killed, one by Klaus and another presumably by the sudden outbreak in the city. This left Richtofen to rely on the captured strike team. They've had a good track record so far, and it was mighty convenient that they'd be arriving in the outbreak zone. With the Cerberus and Klaus deployed into Berlin behind the backs of all of the Requiem heads, Carver bursts into Weaver's office demanding some answers. What Weaver tells him provides him no comfort. The truth is, even Weaver's in the dark. Nobody knows what is happening, and they are no longer on a need-to-know basis. They can only hope things in Berlin go well. The following day, the Requiem strike team is deployed into Berlin to deal with Alexandra Valentina, who in reality is Angelica Vogel, the daughter of Project Endstation's leader. The strike team do as they're told under the orders of Omega Group's leader, Lev Kravchenko, and bring an end to Angelica, containing the outbreak. Back at Requiem HQ, Agent Samantha Maxis opens a rift, allowing the strike team to escape before Kravchenko can kill them off. The director of Requiem proceeds to take notes on the dangers of Samantha's growing power. As the months passed, Requiem was gaining the advantage over their Russian counterparts, and the time of the Forsaken's unintentional release was soon approaching. Richtofen issued Operation First Domino, which will unite all 4 departments into a joint operation consisting of the retrieval of Kazimir Zykov, a Russian soldier from World War II who has been trapped in the Dark Ether since 1945. However, they do not realize, outside of Richtofen himself, that Zykov is the Forsaken. To plan ahead for this, Richtofen provides Dr. Peck with blueprint schematics of 2 inventions, the Ethereum gun turret and the Forsaken containment chamber. It's worth noting that Richtofen has secretly been leaking information to Omega Group since the start, essentially controlling both sides of the Cold War, like Palpatine in Star Wars. The turret will play a vital role in the fight against the Forsaken, and once enough damage has been dealt, along with the self-sacrifice of Samantha Maxis, the containment chamber is able to absorb the Forsaken, trapping him inside of the machine, unable to escape, but very much still sentient and present. And look at that! They even provided him with a little microphone. With the Forsaken captured, Richtofen has little left to do with Requiem. The Dark Ether breaches around the world begin to close off and the undead drop dead. Omega Group is essentially finished and Requiem has won the arms race. With the Forsaken on its way to West Virginia, the staff of Requiem begin to perform their closing interviews. As for the heads of Requiem, they are arrested and sent away to Terminus Island. What becomes of the strike team is unknown, but they are presumably used as test subjects. But this wouldn't be the end of Richtofen's tamperings with the Dark Ether. In the shadows of Requiem, Richtofen had been working towards a bigger goal labeled as Project Janus. If you're hoping the name means anything towards Richtofen's intentions, you will be sorely mistaken. The group's beginnings are not exactly known, but by the summer of 1984, Richtofen had someone named Gary Parkhurst scouting Terminus Island to see if the location would be suitable for a test site. The site was chosen due to it being in close proximity to PEX inversion warheads that were sabotaged during the arms race. What Richtofen wanted these rockets for is never explained, but beyond the rockets, the location was chosen due to being out of sight, making it the perfect place to perform illegal and unethical experiments. While preparations begin for the construction of their labs on Terminus Island, Richtofen is given information he's been seeking on pocket realms known as liminal spaces. These places seem to trap one's soul inside of a single moment in time, repeating it again and again. The reason he sought out these liminal spaces is they possess the energy to create prima materia, a rare and powerful resource which was said to be the building blocks of the universe. Obtaining some artifact that comes out of nowhere is never explained or even given a name. Richtofen uses this item to open these liminal spaces upon purchasing the mansion, which has had a dark history of its own. Project Janus kept its true experiments a complete secret from the government, somehow, and the public. To keep suspicions away from themselves, the organization would assist the US military by developing weapons or regenerating flesh to replace lost limbs. Although, the whole missing limb regeneration thing was primarily used in Dr. Modi's twisted experiments on Terminus Island. Here she created monstrosities of flesh such as the amalgam, vermin, parasite, and perhaps her most twisted creation, Patient 13. Except maybe that wasn't the case, as statues of these creatures exist within the tomb in France, and Blanchard fought a horde of vermin that emerged from the Dark Ether. Anyway, it seems that Project Janus also created the Doppelgast, a flesh creature that is imbued with Dark Ether rune magic, allowing for it to dodge swiftly, as if blurring into the fabric of reality. During Richtofen's hunt of his own father to obtain the Sentinel artifact, Janus would create a close partnership with the French Syndicate, a criminal organization that resides in the Principality of Avalon, led by Franco. I bring this up because outside of the French Syndicate interrogating Gabriel Kraft, who is Richtofen's adoptive father, and studying objects that resemble the Sentinel artifact, it would appear that Project Janus was providing weaponry to the Syndicate. This is best seen, and only seen, through this crate found in the dungeons that sports a Janus logo on it. Not doing a very good job with keeping themselves a secret, but that's besides the point. Inside this crate is a Doppelgast which can somehow become the Pack-a-Punch machine? I guess the simple explanation is that it's magic. Anyway, most of Project Janus's employees didn't really understand why they were doing any of the experiments and research they were doing. Whether it was the amalgam program on Terminus, experiments with quantum mechanics, and the possibility of time travel, the warping of space-time.
You think I will let you go through with this? I trapped a damn universe.
What? In fact, everyone being in the dark is kind of the whole group's thing. Because even Ernst Duffer, the warden and interrogation officer on Terminus, doesn't really understand why the director wishes to keep his 4 prisoners alive. They could be used for experiments or simply removed from the equation, but they are kept alive. Although he is given direct orders to make Weaver suffer the most. Outside of the flesh monsters, Project Janus also dabbled in weapons development, presumably recreating the Wunderwaffe DG2, which, in this timeline, if you've forgotten, was an invention of Dr. Ulrich Vogel of Project Endstation and utilized by Die Wahrheit in World War II. Ultimately, I think this was done because of Richtofen's connection with the Wunderwaffe DG2. Another wonder weapon created was the DRI-11 Beam Smasher, which utilized technology from the DG2. This was a weapon of Dr. Anya Tanovsky's invention, but for whatever reason, Richtofen canceled production of the weapon and denied its creation outright. Regardless, Dr. Tanovsky continued with her work in secret. This weapon also used a breakthrough of Dr. Strauss's, which was the way to use Ethereum as a generator. Ernst Duffer obtained this information out of him, and Dr. Modi got to work with what he learned, creating the Ethereum maturation pods. These would now power the entirety of the base and future Project Janus facilities. Anyway, back to weapons. Over in Liberty Falls, Dr. Pericles Panos invented a living bioweapon known as the Gorgafex That is unfortunately all we have on the weapon's lore, aside from knowing it was Panos' pet project and an instruction given to him by his shadow benefactor. He'd also assist in the creation of the Thrustodyne Model 23. But that's not Janus sanctioned. If you're hoping for some depth on the lore behind the mutant injection, the only answer I can give you is it was a creation of Richtofen's with the sole purpose of putting the man back in Mangler. Whatever that means. Due to having no information on how it works, my assumption is it utilizes Dr. Strauss's research on the transformative properties of essence, and so you are injecting yourself with essence that changes your form into that of a Mangler, or even a disciple, as seen in Black Ops 7. We did learn, after all, that Dr. Strauss was hoping to control the transformation of essence, so I guess Richtofen picked up where Strauss had left off. Sometime during their excavations of the liminal spaces, a weapon from an old, forgotten multiverse was uncovered. The Ray Gun Mark II. Due to Sam deleting all lore about this weapon, we have nothing to really work with beyond Richtofen mentioning that the weapon is what kept the liminal spaces stable. Project Janus then went on to create 3 of their own Mark II variants. The W variant, which is a fully automatic Mark II that creates blue flames. The P variant, shooting spread shots like a shotgun, this weapon creates safety circles. Those who stand in it will be kept safe from the undead. Kind of like Vulture Aid's smoke back in Black Ops 2. And finally, the R variant, performing similarly to a marksman rifle which has the chance to trigger a toxic explosion. But it also seems that Project Janus may have created their own ray gun and ice staff variants too. Though this may not be canon at all and is just a simple recolor, but on the off chance that it is canon, then I mentioned it? They'd also continue development on the wands. At least, I presume they share the same name. Both Modern Warfare 3 and Black Ops 6, presumably Black Ops 7 also, have not actually given these a name, and I've just been assuming they are evolutions of the wands. But Project Janus created 2 of their own. Dark Flare, where you unleash a powerful beam of etheric energy, melting the Horde in seconds, and Mr. Peaks, where you make a deal with the devil and unleash chaos upon your enemies. I don't know if that one's canon though, to be honest. And before we dive into the miscellaneous inventions, it's time we talk robots. Starting with the Klaus units, seeming to have enjoyed his little murder drone back in Berlin, Richtofen ensured that they'd be made again, creating the Commando Klaus, a fragile variant that explodes near its target. And the more terrifying and deadly Uber Klaus, a mech inside of a mech that ignores your armor whilst wearing plenty of armor of its own. When the mech suit is destroyed, the Klaus inside will exit and exchange power for speed. If you didn't like Uber Klaus, then I'm sorry to say, he is returning in Black Ops 7, based on a shorts video released by Treyarch. Richtofen also operated an Uber Klaus suit during his boss fight. Why he doesn't help us against our next topic is beyond me, but he's surprisingly easier to fight when he's in the suit than when he's out of it. Anyway, for our last robot, it's the Synaptic Algorithm Module, better known as SAM. Using the same technology that the Cerberus had for the voice replication, Richtofen has recreated Samantha Max's in personality, mind, and voice. The only major difference is she's a giant metal ball, and Samantha is a flesh person. Or, well, she was. She may not be around anymore. She was created to help control the Dark Ether outbreaks that their facilities were experiencing, as well as pluck any strike team in the Dark Ether out of the Dark Ether. Her powers were the same as Samantha's, with some added extras due to her being a robot. One example of an additional ability is mimicry. During the events of Black Ops 6, she mimicked the Forsaken's voice anytime the crew picked up a power-up, which she spawned herself. This was only done to keep suspicions away from her as she pushed them closer to their objective. Sam will get a video of her own sometime in the future, so I won't give a full history on her here, but without Sam, Project Janus would have been consumed by the Dark Ether ages ago. She may have caused their downfall anyway, but you know, she was pretty helpful when she wasn't trying to obtain a physical body to inhabit. Now for some rapid-fire miscellaneous creations. The microwave trap is seen in the mansion, and as the name suggests, it microwaves any threat in its path, melting them into a pile of rotten flesh. The Arc XD is presumably a creation of Project Janus, recovered from Dr. Hugo Yeager's initial creation of it during the Cold War, when he was employed under Omega Group. Oh Yeager, where have you gone? The Cognitive Adaptive System Target Elimination Reinforcement, or caster turret, is seen in Janus towers. These powerful turrets fire dark ether projectiles and can be upgraded upon acquiring a set amount of kills with it. Personally, one of my favorite traps in the entirety of COD Zombies. The anti-grav personnel launcher, also seen in Janus towers, are sort of like the Wunderspheres in Der Eisendrache, or launch pads in Cold War. These essentially just shoot you into one of the other towers, allowing for quick transportation. I can't imagine what a regular workday here would have looked like. The teleporter is a modified rendition of Omega's teleporter seen in Cold War, although it has a red portal instead of purple. I don't know if there's any significance behind this. The Strauss counter was made by Pericles Panos and named after Dr. Strauss, if you couldn't tell. It detects special dark ether radiation, assisting in the recalibration of a trilogy of projectors found in Liberty Falls. The Limited Transdimensional Gateway Device, or LTG, is a portable device that helps in containing dark ether outbreaks. Though this is why Sam was created, I guess these were created prior to her creation, or for a situation such as this where Sam has gone haywire. It seems to contain some technology from the Dimensional Disruptor, as it summons HVTs from the dark ether, which is an important step as their unique essence is required. The Simultaneous Dimensional Gateway Generator, or SDG, which appears to work in unison with the energy collected by the LTG to close the dimensional rift in the area. Both of these were inventions of Dr. Panos. And I believe last, but not least, the Dark Ether Field Generator, a trap designed for use by Project Janus response teams, unleashing a controlled dark ether energy field that dissolves zombies in its vicinity, while for larger targets, it only ticks away at their health. This also played a role with the LTG's Essence collection. With Requiem long gone and Project Janus presumably disbanded, what became of their legacies? Well, sometime in history, whether in the 90s or 2020s, Operation Deadbolt was founded. This organization was created to ensure that
No one gets in, and nothing gets out. Clear?
they were equipped with many of the same gear as Requiem and Janus was, such as the Dark Ether Recon Rover, though heavily modernized and modified, the wands as I had mentioned before, and even the Ethereum Neutralizer. As of now, it isn't known if Operation Deadbolt's founders have any relation to the prior organizations, but they are in possession of Project Janus blueprints, unless Ava Jansen just found these the same way Zakayev did, in which the answer is, we don't have one. Anyway, that's all there is currently on Requiem and Project Janus. I hope we get just a little more about them in Ashes of the Damned. I guess you'll be able to tell me, as by the time this video is out, the game will probably already have come out itself, or is just about to. I apologize if this video is messy. Explaining their histories while also trying to not just explain the maps we play on wasn't very easy to write for. But I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one. Before I go, actually, this is something I'm gonna have to get used to, but I wanted to give a shout out to my buddy Milk for supporting the channel as my first member. I've had the luxury of getting to try and solve some Easter eggs with him, and he's always been a good guy to hang out with. So, thank you for the support, my friend. It means a lot to me.